If you're getting feedback that your story feels flat or that your scenes feel disconnected, you might be having a problem with cause and effect chains. So let's talk about how do we fix those. If you're new here, my name is Courtney. I'm a developmental fiction editor specializing in the romance and fantasy genres, but also dystopian and historical fiction. So essentially a story is made up entirely of cause and effect. Stories are stories of change. Stories don't typically work when things just happen on the page. They work because one thing leads to another. So every character comes onto the page with wants, with fears, with a reason why they want that thing. And what happens if they don't get that thing? All of that makes up their motivation. Because they want something or because they fear something happening, their actions over the course of the story matter. And whatever happens because of those actions they take, which are typically consequences, whether they be good or they be bad, is what makes a story. So this can be where a lot of stories fall apart. We get scenes where stuff happens and nothing really causes it or causes the next thing. So the story begins to feel like this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then all of a sudden the big bad attacked, and then killed this person, and that, blah, blah, blah. And no one really understands why or why it happened. And so it ends up really not meaning anything to your readers. So here's an example, a very simplified, very broad, basic example that you can kind of apply to maybe your story. So think of one event disrupting your character's life, and that forces them to make a choice. And this choice creates a consequence. And that consequence creates a new problem, which forces another choice. And on until you hit the climax and then eventually the end of your story. That's how you get really great pacing. That's how you raise the stakes for your characters. And that's how you get tension. So when you're writing and coming up with the consequences to the causes and choices of your characters, pick the effect that best serves your story. Ask yourself what outcome is most interesting. What challenges my characters in a meaningful way? What effect raises the stakes or creates more tension? And cause and effect isn't just for the plot. It can also show up in your characters' emotions and their relationships and in your world building. So if the magic changes, how does society change? If a character fails or their best friend kicks the bucket, how do they change in the next scene? How do they react in the next scene? Everything is a ripple effect in a story. And if you might be feeling some pushback from that, but think about the phrase life is stranger than fiction. Life can be a little bit all over the place. We really can't predict some of the things that happen to us, but in stories, we're in control. We have to predict. We have to kind of control and guide the readers along on that train track. Because if you don't, readers might feel disconnected and they won't know that it's because the cause and effect chain broke down. Some of them might, but most of them won't. They'll mostly just feel like something's not earned or something's off or the pacing just feels weird. But focusing on your cause and effect chains and linking your scenes together until the very end is what's going to make your story feel smooth and logical and emotional.